The restaurant was almost empty when Emily glanced at her watch for the 10th time. 4:45 p.m. He was late. Again. Her nerves were already frayed. Blind dates were not her thing, but her best friend had begged her to give it one last try. "He's kind, smart, a single dad," she had said. But as Emily stirred her untouched coffee, all she could think about was how foolish she felt sitting there alone, waiting for another man who probably wouldn't show. She sighed, picking up her purse to leave. That was when the door opened and a tall man walked in, rain-soaked, apologetic, with kind brown eyes that immediately softened her frustration. "You must be Emily," he said, catching his breath. "I'm Daniel. I'm so sorry I'm late." His voice carried both exhaustion and warmth. Something about the way he smiled, awkward but genuine, made her pause. Maybe, just maybe, she could give this evening a chance. If you believe in fate, kindness, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heartwarming Tales. As they sat down, the silence between them was thick but not uncomfortable. Daniel looked like someone who had forgotten how to relax, his tie slightly crooked, his fingers fidgeting with the napkin. "Rough day?" Emily asked with a small smile. He chuckled. "You could say that. Single parenting and work. Not the easiest mix." There was something deeply human about the way he said it. No self-pity, just honesty. They talked. About little things at first, coffee preferences, books, their favorite movies. But soon, conversation flowed naturally, like they'd known each other longer than an hour. Daniel told her about his daughter, Lily, a 6-year-old who loved painting and hated broccoli. Emily smiled, warmed by the way his eyes softened whenever he mentioned her. "She sounds amazing," she said. "She is," he replied softly. "She's my whole world." For a moment she saw something in his gaze, a shadow, a sadness, and she wondered about the story behind it. But she didn't ask. She didn't need to. The tenderness in his voice told her everything. As the night went on, she realized Daniel wasn't like the others she'd met before. He didn't brag. He didn't try to impress. He just was, and that was enough. But as the dinner plates were cleared and the waiter set down dessert, Emily felt a sudden heaviness in her chest. She had told herself not to get attached, not after what she'd been through. Her ex had left her when she needed him most, and ever since, she'd built walls so high that no one could climb them. This date wasn't supposed to mean anything. It was supposed to be just dinner. Yet as Daniel smiled across the table, something inside her cracked. "I should go," she said suddenly, her tone too brisk, too final. Daniel's smile faltered. "Oh," he said, masking disappointment with politeness. "Of course. I understand." She stood, fumbling for her coat. "You're a good man, Daniel," she said gently. "But I'm not ready for this." He nodded, forcing a smile. "I get it." As she walked toward the door, the sound of laughter echoed from behind, and soft, high-pitched and innocent. A little girl ran into the restaurant, clutching a paper in her hand. "Daddy," she squealed. Daniel turned, surprised. "Lily? What are you doing here?" Emily stopped, frozen. The girl had big brown eyes, the same as her father's, and paint smudges on her fingers. She looked around the restaurant, spotted Emily, and grinned. "You're the one from Daddy's story," she said, pointing at her with childlike excitement. Both adults stared at her. Daniel crouched down. "Sweetheart, what story?" Lily giggled. "The story you tell me before bed. About the nice lady who was sad but still smiled. You said one day we'd meet someone like her and everything would change." Emily's throat tightened. Daniel blinked, speechless. "Lily," he said softly. "That was just—" But the little girl didn't stop. She ran up to Emily, holding up her drawing. "See, I drew you." Emily knelt down, her eyes stinging as she looked at the paper. A crayon drawing of a woman with long brown hair standing next to a man and a little girl under a rainbow. "This is me?" she asked shakily. Lily nodded proudly. "Daddy said people come when they're meant to. Maybe it's now." Daniel's eyes softened with emotion, but there was something raw in his expression. Something that told Emily this wasn't the first time Lily had said something beyond her years. "She lost her mom when she was 4. Daniel said quietly, his voice trembling. "Sometimes she says things like that. I think it's her way of keeping hope alive." Emily's heart broke open. She looked at Lily, then at Daniel, and felt a strange ache, a mix of sorrow and tenderness. "You raised her well," she whispered. Daniel smiled faintly. "I tried, but some days it feels like she's the one raising me. That moment, the raw honesty, the quiet strength, it undid something in her. She realized she wasn't just seeing a man. She was seeing a father, a survivor, someone who carried pain but still chose kindness. They sat again, this time with Lily between them, chatting about everything and nothing. The little girl talked about her favorite cartoon, her school, her mom's old garden. Every word seemed to stitch something back together in Emily's heart. She hadn't laughed like this in years, freely without fear of breaking. When the night ended, Daniel offered to walk her out. "You don't have to," she said. "I want to," he replied. Outside, the city was quiet, the air cool. They stood under the soft glow of the streetlight. Emily turned to him. "Your daughter is incredible." He smiled, looking down. "She's my reminder that even when everything falls apart, love still finds a way." Emily swallowed hard. "You're a good man, Daniel." He met her gaze, and for a long moment they didn't speak. Then softly he said, "You know, she was right about one thing. I did tell her a story once, about a woman who taught me how to hope again." She frowned slightly. "But you didn't even know me," he smiled. "I didn't need to. I was describing the kind of person I hoped to meet someday. Someone who'd understand what it's like to be broken but still brave enough to care." The world seemed to blur around them, the cars, the lights, the noise. All she could hear was her heartbeat. "Maybe Lily's right," she whispered. "Maybe it's now." He looked at her, his eyes soft, full of something deeper than words. "Maybe it is." The wind brushed against them, carrying the faint scent of rain. For the first time in years, Emily didn't feel alone. She felt found. Months later, that same restaurant would hold a different memory. Lily, now wearing a small white dress, would place flowers on every table, humming happily. Daniel would stand by the door, waiting nervously. And Emily, no longer the woman who ran from love, would walk in, smiling through tears. When the ceremony began, Lily tugged Emily's dress and whispered, "See? I told you. You were the one from Daddy's story." Emily bent down, kissed her forehead, and whispered back, "And you were the one who made it come true."